Hello everyone, and thank you very much for watching. This is me, Mr. P, and let's carry on setting up Proxmox on my very old laptop. In a previous episode I showed you how you can create ZFS pool inside the Proxmox, but that works great, no problems at all. I have backups, I have ISO dataset, backup dataset, and VM's disk dataset, and this works fine. But what if you want to share one of these things? What if, for example, you went and met your friend and he says, oh, there's amazing the amazing operating system I recommending for you to try, and he just sends you ISO file via Samsung, transfer something to your Galaxy device. So how to get ISO file from your phone to the Proxmox virtual Proxmox host, Proxmox OS? Yes, the Samba will be the best way to do, and yeah, there is a way to install Samba server on a Proxmox host. It's just I'm not feeling very confident in doing that. I don't really want to go and start messing up with the Proxmox host OS, installing Samba servers and setting everything else. Yes, there is a way. Just I'm not planning to do that. Instead, I'm gonna create myself a virtual machine, TrueNAS Scale virtual machine to be exact. And the TrueNAS Scale will be my Samba server, my iSCSI server, and my basically ZFS pool management system. So all the ZFS pool that we created in a previous episode, we will just destroy that and recreate a fresh new one inside the inside TrueNAS Scale. There is a way to migrate the ZFS pool from the Proxmox to a TrueNAS Scale, and I tried that a couple of times. Believe me or not, this is the third time I'm recording this because previous ones my migration hasn't worked that well. So instead of just trying to find the solution and basically hitting my head into a wall trying to find how to get this working, I decided just to go and do a fresh one. So basically destroying everything in my Z pool that I created in the previous episode and recreating a fresh one inside the TrueNAS Scale. So let's start setting up TrueNAS Scale first. TrueNAS Scale is quite well-known NAS operating system, and there is three versions. Actually, there is three versions. There is a TrueNAS Core, TrueNAS Enterprise, which we're not going to use because that costs a lot, and TrueNAS Scale. So TrueNAS Core is being built on FreeBSD, as you can see, FreeBSD, and it's used to be called FreeNAS. And there is a TrueNAS Scale, which is completely rewritten on the Debian base, and I'm gonna use TrueNAS Scale for a couple of reasons. Number one, I quite like the UI, and number two, I think it's more user friendly than TrueNAS Core. Yes, you can do a lot of things inside TrueNAS Core, but for home use and etc., I think it's TrueNAS Scale will be the best one to go for. So we're gonna right now download ISO for TrueNAS Scale. To do that, you click on a Get TrueNAS and then select TrueNAS Scale. If you scroll down a bit and you select, basically click no thank you, and this green button will be your download button. So you right click on that and choose copy link. Go back into your Proxmox and I will select local to be my ISO storage because I don't want to store inside the ISO dataset of ZFS pool because it's going to be destroyed anyway. So I'm going to lose ISO. So I'm going to select local ISO images, click download. Paste that link inside here and click query URL, and it's just gonna tell you this is what is gonna download after pressing the download button. As you can see, mine's already downloaded, so I'm not gonna do that. But basically, you just make sure that this file is here and ISO at the end, and click download and wait for ISO file to get downloaded. To create TrueNAS virtual machine, first we need to click on Create VM. We'll give ID number of 200. I like virtual machines to be 200 and container starting with 100. Name will give TrueNAS-Scale. Yes, I want this VM to start at the boot. That means that as soon as Proxmox server restarts, virtual machine will automatically start. It will be first in line to start. That means that basically all the VMs will wait until this machine starts, and they will wait for 30 seconds. So plenty of time to give for TrueNAS to fully start and fully functioning before all the rest of the stuff will automatically start. Under OS, I will select local and then choose TrueNAS Scale. Under systems, I'll leave everything as it is. Under disks, 32 gigabyte disk is plenty for TrueNAS OS. CPU, I'll give 4. 4 I would say is a minimum to have somewhat decent performance. If you have more, you obviously give more. 4 is a minimum. The RAM is a minimum suggested to have 8 gigs, so 8,192 megabytes in size. megabytes. Don't do anything less. If you do like, what is it, like if you do like 4 gigs or something, don't do that. Otherwise you're not going to have a decent performance. 8 gigs is minimum. Oh, by the way, you won't be able to install TrueNAS because it's going to start shouting at you that you gave less RAM. So 8 gigs a minimum. And the network, everything is fine, and confirm is great. Let's click finish. And now TrueNAS virtual machine is getting created. So once that is created, I can press start now. While this is starting, I can click on this button with 2 arrows, and this is gonna go in a full screen mode. And let's start setting up the TrueNAS. Installation process is quite quick. You actually need to press buttons twice, and that is it. Is just a couple options, 2 free options you need to follow, and everything will be installed in no time. So let's right now wait for this to start, and let's wait for our first prompt to enter the information during this installation process. Actually, it's happened now. Let's select install, press enter, space to select this hard drive that I created inside the Proxmox, enter on that. Yes, I'm fine for TrueNAS to delete all information. Enter the password, press enter, and that is it. Right now, TrueNAS will automatically carry on and do an install. So once that is done, I'll be back. Installation is done, so I'm just gonna click OK on that and do reboot and wait for TrueNAS virtual machine to reboot and go through a first initial steps. I suggest to do that before you do anything else, just to allow TrueNAS virtual machine to go, set all the files, do all the downloads, and etc. You're gonna see here in a couple of seconds that it's going to do a downloads, uploading, downloading, creating etc folders, as you can see here. So it's running right now, TrueNAS update. Just leave that running, allow TrueNAS fully get itself set up on this Proxmox virtual drive. And here you go, we have a TrueNAS fully set up. I have my IP address for HTTP access, HTTPS access, and options what I can do. Option number 9 is to shut down, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to choose 9, press enter, choose Y to yes, and press enter, and let TrueNAS to shut down. So while that is happening, I can go in a window mode and wait for TrueNAS to completely shut down. I think it's done. So right now we have a TrueNAS freshly installed with no configurations done. I like to do a backup before proceed, just to make sure that I do have everything ready. Again, make sure I'm not selecting the ZFS pool. I will select a local drive, and in here I'm just gonna put fresh install as a note for future me to know exactly what was this all about. I'm going to click backup and allow Proxmox to back up this virtual machine with all the just a fresh, no interactions, no additional setup, just a fresh TrueNAS install with all the updates downloaded. So I'll wait for this to finish. So my backup is done. I can see here ID number 200 created today, fresh install TrueNAS Scale. So if I mess up something right now, I have a safe point to go back. Next thing, we need to start destroying a ZFS pool that we created in a previous episode. First thing, I want to make sure that nothing is in these drives are stored. That might be a problem. I can see a virtual machine 201 using this. So if I go to 201 virtual machine under hardware, I can see that the hard disk is located inside VM disks, which is in a dataset. I'm just going to click on a disk action, move storage, select local. If I still have a space on a local, just one thing, because my local disk is 240 gigs, so I know I have space to move the stuff around. Yours might be not 240 gigs, maybe less. Just connect the USB drive to your laptop and just migrate that way. So I'm going to say, yeah, I want to migrate this drive to local storage. While this is happening, let's carry on checking. Local is fine. ISO files, do I have anything inside ISO data? Dataset, it's all good. Under backups, nothing. So I can see just one virtual machine that's actually no longer here. So the virtual machine 201 is got migrated to a local storage. So I can safely say that the dataset or ZFS pool that we created in a previous episode can be safely disconnected and destroyed. In a data center, I'll select storage and I'll select backup. Say remove that. I don't want that anymore. I don't want ISO anymore. And VM disks, remove that. I need to remove these first before destroying ZFS pool, because Proxmox will go nuts if I'll do the other way around. So right now, dataset folder is removed. I can go inside the node by name Dex. Under, let's move that one down a bit. Under ZFS, I select tank. I click more at the top right, then destroy. These two are ticked by default. That is great. I'm going to say tank. I need to give a name of Z pool, which was tank, and click remove. And right now, Proxmox deleting the drives, destroying all the data on the drives. If I click on details, I can see that it's doing right now, I think it's doing second or first one. SDB was the first one, so SDC is the second one. And it's just writing a lot of blank data. And it's going to be all done. Here we go, task is completed. That's it, ZFS pool has been destroyed, is no longer available for Proxmox. Now we need to migrate these drives to the TrueNAS VM. Because I'm using two USB drives, two 2 terabyte WD external hard drives, instead of doing all these hard drive pass-through in command line, etc., I can just pass as a USB device to a TrueNAS. To do that, I need to select the TrueNAS Scale, which is, please note, is turned off at the moment. I click on the TrueNAS Scale VM. Under hardware, I click add and choose USB device. And now I can choose between SpicePort, which we will cover this in upcoming videos, what all this is about. There's two options, use USB vendor device ID or USB port. I suggest to use device ID, vendor device ID, because port, if you choose, for example, this port to be elements 10 BB, and tomorrow you swap the drive to another port, that's it, it's gone, because port is no longer hosting this device. So I will go to USB vendor device ID and I choose element, will be my 2 terabyte drive. It's definitely not USB free. I know the laptop doesn't have USB 3.0 port, so I'm going to untick that and click add. And I'll click again on this USB devices. And next one next one will be my passport, and click add. So these two are my 2 terabyte each external hard drives. I'll click on the console and I click start. And right now, TrueNAS virtual machine starting again with the 2 USB drives attached to it. Startup process will be a bit faster than was after initial installation, because TrueNAS already downloaded all the files and has all the file setups done. It took about 10-15 seconds to start, and I'm going to use right now IP address of ending with 156 to access TrueNAS interface. So IP address 192.168.178.156. Yours might be different. And here we go, TrueNAS Scale. Default user is root, and the password is the password I created during install process. And here we are inside the TrueNAS dashboard. I can see amount of RAM I have, 6 gigabytes is free, but believe me, once ZFS is going, all this 6 gigabyte free will end up being a ZFS cache. And about ZFS cache, I might create a separate video, how to speed up a bit all this. CPU usage and network storage, right now we have no pools created. So first thing I suggest to do is just go over this one. Let's actually go over this one, and I'll show you, because we need to create a user. Under storage, this is where it's going to be your ZFS pool storage located. Shares is where we're going to start creating shares for Samba, Unix, NFS, iSCSI. Data protection is where you can set up scrubs, automatic scrubs, replications, sync to the cloud like Google Drive or OneDrive, RC sync. Networks is where you can configure your network, change the DNS, change your name server, change your DNS, is IP static or dynamic. Under credentials, this is where you create the users, and we're going to create one user straight away. The currently is showing root because other users are hidden by default, which is fine. I'm going to click on the add, and I'll give a name to this user, which I'm going to call it Dex. Username will be Dex, and a password, create a password for this user. And ID number by default is going to be 1000. This is great because all the VMs in the future we're going to create, they're all going to use users with ID 1000. And make sure that Samba authentication is selected and click save. That is selected. Great. Now let's start creating ourselves a ZFS pool. To create a ZFS pool, you need to go into storage, obviously, and then click create a pool. And it automatically will detect drives that you connected to your TrueNAS virtual machine. As you can see, there is 2 drives, 1.82 terabytes in size. I'm just going to tick and say all of them, give a name, tank, and I'm just going to click this arrow to migrate them to a data VDEVs. The TrueNAS automatically suggests to do a mirror, which is great. I'll press create. Yes, I'm happy for all the data inside to be destroyed, deleted. I will tick confirm and then create pool. And right now TrueNAS is creating a mirrored pool, mirrored ZFS pool of these 2 drives, these 2 USB drives that is still functioning. Once ZFS pool is created, it automatically will refresh and go back to storage page. So here we go. We have ourselves a ZFS pool by the name of tank. So right now let's start creating a dataset. To create a dataset, you just click on the 3 dots here on the right hand side and choose dataset. Dataset name, I like to call this data. It's going to be like a top root folder inside dataset, will be data. Scroll down, everything else can be by default selected. And on the share type, I'll select Samba, SMB, and save it. So right now it's saving the dataset or creating a dataset inside this ZFS pool. Once that is done, I will have to go and start creating other datasets within this dataset. Anyway, that is in, which is created. Now, if I click on the share, actually, no, let's go back to this. Under datasets, I click on this and I choose view permissions and click on the pencil. And now where it says root, you delete that and enter the user group that you created. I created a user by the name of Dex, and automatically there is a group created by the name of Dex. So click create this and click apply. What I'm doing here is basically I'm allowing everybody inside the group Dex to have read and write permissions inside this dataset. So root will have access to this dataset regardless of the group, whatever group I select, but the member of the group Dex will have read and write. So if I click save access list, save access control list, sorry, so ACL, and this is right now creating all the permissions that need to have. So right now the Dex user has access to this share. I click on the shares and I choose top one, SMB, click add, click on a triangle to go down, go down, go down. If for example by accident you're gonna click somewhere on this name, it's automatically pre-fill here. I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna say data and I will select data, this one. So mount/tank/data will be shared, and I'm just going to click save. And because SMB is currently not running, it's going to say, oh, do you want to enable SMB? I'm going to say yes, I would like to SMB service to be running. Great, and that is done. And next thing is I need to go inside system settings, services, and where is SMB, which is here. Just make sure that this is automatically ticked. That means that once the TrueNAS virtual machine automatically starts, SMB will work automatically. So go back here. So I have one dataset created with the name data and it's SMB Share already. And IP address is 176. So if I click on the sums of my files, click on a plus sign, I want to add SMB. It might detect automatically. Let's see if it's going to do. It should be 156, IP address ending 156. Let's see if it's found it in my network list. 156, I don't see. So add manually. 192.168.178.156. 445. Username is Dex and the password I created and click add. Here we go. There's the data. If I click in there, that's it. This is the data set we created inside the TrueNAS. If I minimize that, let's create one more data set where we're gonna store, let's say, Proxmox backup. So inside the data, I'll click on the plus sign. I'm going to say add a data set and I'll name this Proxmox. Scroll down, make sure you selected SMB, a last option, and click save. It might ask you to update ACL certificate, ACL configurations again. So just do the same thing as we've done before. Select Dex as a group or whatever username you created. Set ACL for this data set. I'm going to say yes. Delete the root from here. Put Dex inside. Apply to this group, click save access control list. And right now inside data, I have Proxmox, and inside the Proxmox, I can put data sets, all of them in one single line, but I like to do this kind of structured tree. So this is why it goes from tank to data, from data to Proxmox, and from Proxmox is going to be backup. So I'll know that this is where it's located. Samba, yes. And plus in the future, if I want to migrate just the Proxmox backups, I have ACL setups done. I just need to Samba mount somewhere or sync thing or something and push it outside my premises to another server somewhere like 1,000 miles away. So here we are. We have a tank, which is our ZFS pool. Inside we have a dataset data. Inside that dataset we have dataset Proxmox, and inside that we have backup. Like I said, I can have them all in one line, but I like to have some sort of like a folder tree structure happening. So right now backup is the data set where I would like to store Proxmox backups. I will go back and click on the shares and say I want to add a share. Go down to a backup. Select that. Name is already pre-applied. That is great. And then click save. And right now this data set is being Samba shared across my home network. If I go back to a Proxmox, I click on a data center. Inside the storage, I'll select add and then choose SMB/CIFS. ID number will give backups. IP address is 192.168.178.156. User is Dex. The password that I created. If I click this, I should see all the shares that happen. I see two of them because data and backup is a Samba shared inside TrueNAS, as you can see here. So I just want to make sure that I select the right one, which is going to be backups. So backup is going to be this one. Content is going to be VZ dump and snippets. Click apply. And that's it. There is my data set attached. As you can see, backups Dex. I can see that this has almost 2 terabytes of storage and currently backups none.
So let's select this, for example, virtual machine, which should be still ticking. As you can see, still working. I will select backups, and then I say create a new backup. And now I'm going to choose backups, as this is a ZFS dataset I created, snapshot, etc., etc. That's fine. Click a backup. And right now it's running a backup to this ZFS pool that we created within a TrueNAS virtual machine. If I click on this and click a dashboard, I should see some action happening in here. As you can see, there's a couple of spikes happening, read and write happening. CPU getting tanked a bit. As you can see, it just jumped to 35% and went back. And right now, ZFS cache at the moment doing basically just 0.4 gigabytes of RAM, but that will definitely go up once we have more data storage happening. Another quick thing that I like to do here, as you can see, there is a TrueNAS help. I like to go to config and say I don't want to see help tab, so just condense this a bit more. So right now, if I go back to Proxmox, backup is done. So if I'm going to go to my TrueNAS, I can see there is some usage happening here. If I go to backups, I can see 210 megabytes is used right now. So here we are. We have a TrueNAS virtual machine using 2 USB drives attached to it in a mirrored ZFS pool, and we're doing SMB Share to share these folders to all the devices within home network. In the future, we're going to start in upcoming videos, we're going to start setting up virtual machines for Cloudflare, for Tailscale, for Pi-hole, and everything else. So stay tuned for more. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.